Okay, let's start with the discussion. We'll start with the introduction first, and the whole purpose of having this Focus Pro learning series is that our customers and the users of Focus Pro get to learn various features and tricks of using Focus Pro more effectively. And we had already done one session in the month of Jan, and the second session is in the month of Feb. So this is the regular exercise that we would be doing every month. And we'll also be recording the sessions so that in case you're not able to join, you can view the information that's being shared in these calls uh, uh, later on. So here we are. Just to give you a quick introduction about Anamind, who we are and what we do. So we are a company which is based out of Bangalore, and we have services, solutions, and education related to planning. So we have various solutions for demand planning, for inventory planning, for production planning, as well as financial planning, budgeting, and all of it. So we have solutions with respect to that. We also have planning services where we companies do outsource their services to us, and we also have training programs. I'll not get into the details of what solutions can do, but because we would be focusing today on Forecast Pro. So Forecast Pro is from a company called as Business Forecast System. We are their partners in India and neighboring countries. We represent them here, and uh, it's a company which is focused towards developing solution for demand planning. And they have Forecast Pro Track. They also have Focus Pro 100 and a lot of other variants of Focus Pro which can help in demand planning. So it's being used by more than 40,000 plus customers across various industries, has a built-in AI technique to determine the best fit forecast. And these are some of the features that you see over here. But today our focus would be on new product, and in new product we'll be focusing on the recently awaited or the recently released version of uh, new product planning. We'll be focusing on that, and we'll also be touching upon the forecast by analogy method. So let's quickly move towards the forecasts or NPI planning. So let me first walk you through what are the various techniques that are available for planning. And the first one is, one second, I think I can hear myself. Okay, yeah. So the first one is the has which was in place for quite a long time was the focus by analogy approach, which you can see somewhere over here on top. So this is one method that's available for forecasting, which was available for quite a long time. And it's one of the quickest way of applying the uh, applying the forecast using the analog items history. We'll be discussing on that. We'll also be discussing the a bit of Bas diffusion model that's available, and or base diffusion model, if you would call it that. And then we would be focusing on the product mapping. So this is one of the feature that has been released by Focus Pro sometimes last year and it's fairly a new feature, and I wanted to focus on this report so that you get to understand uh, what is the capability of this feature is and how you can utilize it in your normal processes. So let's start with the product mapping approach. Now, let's start with the first example. So typically what happens in normal companies is that there would be some fair, small revision in the product that might happen. And the old product, which had more or less good 90% of the same feature, but there could be price revision, there could be small addition to the features. The SKU code changes, the previous SKU is discontinued and a new product gets introduced. So these are typically the phase in, phase out scenarios where the key features of the product remains the same, and there could be slight, because of slight modification here and there, the product is discontinued and new product is introduced. So now in this case we have these products which are new, brand new. Also see these products which were being sold previously, but when we look at
But when we
the
look
base
at the base,
when we look at the basic forecasting approach, right, uh, of how these models typically generate forecasts. So they look at the forecast, or they basically look at the historical sales data, and based on the historical sales data, the system would forecast for the future. Now, in this case, because the item is discontinued, you can see the forecast is zero. But in certain cases, it could happen that system is generating the forecast because it's assuming that this period had no sale because of XYZ reason. So it could still continue to generate forecast. But typically that's not what we want. We want the system to discontinue this item completely and move it to the new item. Now in this case, I had this product which was in sales from 2016 till 2018. Then we had another product which started from 2018 and then continued till 2020. Then we have a fairly new product which has started from 2020 and it's now continuing, right? Now in this case we have multiple phase in, phase out of the same product, but uh, how do we uh, you know actually use this information to improve the forecast is the question. Because as you can see, system is generating flat line because it does not have the proper historical data maintained anywhere for the system to accurately say, okay, yes, use this approach, use this approach to figure out the trend in parameter, other parameter. Right now it cannot with just this much amount of data. So what we can do is, and I'll use one approach, which is of the product mapping. So I have this product getting sold in Food King and Grocery Land. So I can select this product, I can go to product mapping, and over here I tell that I want to map it the customers. So I want to look at the end data item, and I would want to look at the discontinued item, which is number one, the product A. Sorry, that's, hang on. Yeah, so we can see the moment I've clicked, the system has automatically picked up the historical sales data of Food King, and but there is no data over here, so it's just giving me a blank line. So I would not want to do that. What I would want to do is I would want to first map the history for the product A. Now, how can we map the history of product A? We have the discontinued history from this location. So now when I've selected CA2001B, which was in sales from this period, which is from 2016 till 2018. And then we see that the new product is the product in CA2002A is introduced. So as you can see, it's being replaced over here. So we can actually select that. I can click on commit, and we'll talk about some of the features that we have over here so that we understand what exactly the system is trying to do. But I've selected that, and I would click on exit. And this is fairly fine for me because in the settings I've said that if product is not sold for certain duration, then do not generate the forecast. So this is coming to be perfectly fine. So I have at least the historical data applied for Food King. Now, if I go to this particular item and I would say maybe use this history now. So now you can see earlier we did not have the history for 2019 time period, but now we have the continuous history for the last couple of periods for all the years before that. So I would say increment that or I can just say clear and replace. I will say first clear the data, and then I can map it. So now when I do that, I now have a beautiful pattern where I can see that there would be a higher sales in the month of December. I can see the higher sales in the month of September and October for this product, which was previously, if I look at grocery land, it was not, giving me that output. But by using this product mapping, which is quite user intuitive, I can, just go ahead and, select the items on the fly and help select a better historical data is what we can do by using this approach. Now, let's talk about a bit on these features which are available. Now, the clear mapped history, this is one of the feature where if we have, say, for example, selected a product and we have kind of mapped it, and then we would want to clear that mapped history. The blue color line is our mapped history. If you would want to clear that, we can just click on the button clear, and it will clear the mapped history. And I'll go to the normal product that we have, or I can select some other product that we would want to map it to. So this is one approach or one of the feature that you can see where you can actually clear the mapped history if you would want. Sorry, where you can clear the mapped history. You also have this option in the filter. If you have, say, for example, a lot of SKUs, a lot of items you would want to quickly select, say, for example, CA 20. So you can quickly just type in here and the product would appear. So it just makes your work a little easy for you to map one product with another product. This is the option where you can actually select at what level of the hierarchy you would want to map the history to. So let me take another example in this case. And over here we have a product which is 150 ml energy drink, which is recently introduced in, I'll just clear the mapped history. Yeah. So in this case, you can see the product basically does not have a historical sales data. I have a historical sales data which is only for 1 month, but I know that the product was available to sell in a different location. Now I want to use the mix of Bangalore and Chennai and apply the product mapping. I'm just going to remove the fitted line. Yeah. So what we can do in this case, we can apply we can select the level at which we would want to apply the historical sales data mapping. So I've selected at SKU level. The last level in this case was location. I'm not mapping it at location level. I'm mapping it uh, at the SKU level. So what we can do is I can just quickly say that I want to map it to another product of energy drink. And I have this option which it says that use top-down modeling. So I can do that and I can click on commit. So it will automatically apply the modifier at this level, and you can see there is one round option that has appeared indicating that this is where the mapping is. For the last item, there is a plus symbol. That means there is some history that's being added. But at a group level, we have this round dot getting activated, indicating that this is where the product has been mapped to. So this is one approach when we are uh, mapping the products at a higher level. We can use the top-down approach, and we can select any level in this hierarchy to map the information at that particular level. We also have an option of setting the forecast history to 0 over here, which would ensure that my I do not see the historical sales data as such. The forecasted history, I do not see that, and that will become 0. I can also, in cases, and I'll talk about the allocation percentage over here. What we can do is, in case there is a definite one-on-one mapping, then the allocation is complete. Say for example, I have a CA2001A, and that is now getting phased out, and I'm going to replace it with CA2002 and CH2002. So I'm going to replace it with two products, and I want the allocation to be 50-50%. I know that because I'm introducing two products, I will have uh, you know I will have uh, my sales getting bifurcated by two products. So I want to allocate the history accordingly. I do not want the history to be same for both the products. So I'm selecting the Food King over here, but I'm saying that allocate only 50% of it to the new product that I have. And remaining 50, we can allocate it to the other product that we have over here, which is 2002. And yeah, I can say allocate 50% or uh, I'm just doing it 50-50. So this kind of takes care of your cannibalization in case there is any kind of cannibalization that might happen. Uh, and you are replacing one product with multiple products. That's where the cannibalization or the allocation percentages can be useful. So this can act like a cannibalization. We can also see that there are multiple products which are getting phased out and are getting replaced by one. In that case, what we will have to do is, say for example, in this case, Food King, uh, CA2002 in Food King is getting is being introduced, and the two or three replacement products that we have is this one, which is CH2001 is now replacing this product. Sorry, CH2001 is getting phased out. CA2001A is also getting phased out, and instead of that, we are releasing CA2002. So I can further map another product over here on top of it and say, use an increment approach, and I will add the other item, which is here. And system would accordingly map it and use that information for generating the forecast. So this is many to one kind of mapping, and we can do one to one mapping as well, or one to many mapping uh, is uh, is is possible by using this allocation percentage option. We also have an option over here which would allow us to manage the amount of historical data that we would want to use for the projections. And by that, for example, by that, what we mean is right now the historical data in this case is starting from 2016. But we know that in 2016, quite a good portion of time we had. Hello. Okay. Yeah, so for quite a good portion of time, we had issues where there was absolutely no sale, and we know that the sales started happening properly from March 2017. So ideally, we would want to just ignore this time period, and we would not want to have this period uh, in our in our history, or we would want the system to just not take that history for generating the forecast. So what we can tell is that do not use the full history. Start the history from when we see the data to be coming up, and which is from in this case I need to go back a little bit in time, but in this case we can definitely map that and select the date range accordingly, and then commit the historical data as per that. So that system takes only that much amount of history which is reflective of the products trend and buying pattern from the customer. We also have this option of clear and replace existing forecast history. Do we want if and this is applicable when we have multiple products mapping to be done, or when we are actually applying it one over the other. Do we want it to be of incremental nature? That means the current forecast history would get added in the current forecast history, the new forecast history would get added of the new product that we have selected, or do we want to just clear and replace it with the products that we have selected now? So we can specify that, and accordingly system will take that into consideration for for this mapping. By default it is clear and replace. That means our latest selection that we would have of the product that we are mapping from, only that product's history would be available, and if there were any previous products that we had selected, that product history would be replaced. But if you want to incorporate and merge both the history, then we need to use the increment approach. I hope this part is clear to everyone. Okay, let's move on. And the next portion is of the uh, by analogy approach. And even for the by analogy approach, I would just want to show you how you can also create the mapped history and use that for mapping it into the system. I'm just opening one data set that we have over here. You can provide the products detail over here to which you would want to map the previous history. In case you would want you want to map the actual history, you can provide the historical numbers for that item over here in this format, so that system can just take this historical data into consideration for mapping it to the new product. That is one approach. The second approach is when we want to map it at the product level. So for example, um, yeah, maybe let's look at that. Yeah. So over here, one was the approach where I had showcased that you can provide the entire historical data, but you do not want to do that, right? It just becomes a little cumbersome approach. You want to just tell the system that map these products history from these products. So you can provide this data set over here that these are the products uh, which are getting replaced by these products. So you can provide this mapping and system will take this into account. Where do you get to upload this information? You will be able to upload this information in the mapped section over here. So you have the mapped history file available where you can provide the history mapping and just read that information, and automatically system will be able to pick that up and apply it automatically in one shot to all these phase in phase out scenarios. Um, the next approach would be the by analogy approach, which we have. Now, this is a very widely used feature of Focus Pro, which we have been using for quite some time. In this case, what we can do is, for example, we had a gift box and a regular box which was in sale. So this is just one example of a chocolate box which was introduced in Delhi, and we have just few months of sales available, but we really do not have uh, enough history to determine the pattern correctly. So what we can do is we can create an analog item. How do we do that? You can right click on the helper variable and select create. In this case, we can tell that you know for from Chandigarh, where the product was already in sale, select the history, the forecast history from 2018 till 2019, because I want to use this information to create and apply as an analog item to Delhi location. So I can do that. I can create a helper variable and click OK. And then I can go to Delhi. Right now, if I would just use expert selection, you would see that the expert selection is giving me a flat forecast. But I want to apply the analog item. So I can say select by analogy. I can select Chandigarh. System is automatically come up with the estimated launch amount based on the pattern of Chandigarh and based on the pattern of Delhi. So it is automatically picking that up. We can tell the system that after say 2 or 3 months, or maybe after say 1 year, use expert selection. That means do not rely on the analogy model after 1 year. You use your own technique to determine the best fit method. So we can activate that. And we can also say that you align the seasonality in case products are, if the products are seasonal in nature, which are typically in the FMCG sector, products are seasonal in nature, because you have certain promos that would happen during Diwali time, or during New Year, Christmas, and the tendency of product being sold at in those times is really little higher compared to other months. So you do see some sort of seasonality in the data. But even if for a B2B setup, we have seen that uh, there could be some seasonality, because sales team do work under pressure of meeting their targets, and whenever there is a quarter end, or whenever there is a year end, their activity of reaching out to the customer and closing the sales increase. And we have seen this kind of pattern where the sales at the end of the year, or at the end of the financial year, is little higher compared to rest of the month. So in that case, we do see a seasonal pattern, and then we can tell the system that use align the seasonality and automatically extend means that if the data was short, the Chandigarh history was actually short, and we do not have sufficient history, then it can also automatically extend the forecast further. So we can do all of it, and just let the system figure out what the pattern is, and you can see clearly that the system has been able to figure out the patterns automatically, and it has given me a, a variant for forecast with some sort of seasonality, rather than giving me a plain forecast. So that is on the analogy model that we have, that we can use in the system. We can create these analog items either directly in the system, the way I had shown you, or you can also update the analogs using the helper variable by creating them as helper variables, and load these helper variables externally. You'll have to provide what the helper variable is, description of it, and what the helper variable values are, and system would be able to automatically read that information via the helper section available over here. So that's another approach. This the another method that we have is of the diffusion method. As you can see from the name itself, there is a diffusion technique, and it's typically used for very innovative products where we really do not have any kind of history data to map to, or we do not have any customer information or any kind of marketing insight as such, because that product is not there in the market, right? In such cases, typically you make some assumption in terms of what would be your potential market, what the total size of your potential market is, what's the coefficient of innovation and imitation, in the sense we divide the population in a way that there would always be some daredevils who would go out and try out your product, right? Now, these are the customers, the initial set of customers who are these daredevils, as I would call them. They are the ones whom we call as innovators. They would actually want to try out the product, and once they start using the product, they would, they would kind of become like a brand ambassador if they like it, and they would talk about the product. So the information about the product would then start going around by the word of mouth. So it kind of diffuses into the rest of the population. And then the rest of the customers would follow. Then there are like, imitators after them, who are a little apprehensive in the beginning, but once they start seeing the good reviews coming in, they would also go and buy the product. So typically used by, I would say, very innovative products, not typically used for a company where we just see a phase in phase out happening, or where we do not have any kind of information. That's when this information or this method gets utilized. So I'm not getting into the detail of it, but just wanted to touch upon it for your information. The final technique that I would want to cover today is the custom component technique. Now, in this case, we as a user can design and define what kind of uh, pattern that we would want to see, and specifically for long term planning. So in short term, if a product is in linear trend, we know that it will continue to be in linear trend for a long time. Let me see if I have some product detail like that. Yes, in this case, if I would actually increase the, let me just increase the forecast. Okay. I'm just going to increase the forecast horizon to uh, quite a big value, just for you to have a look at it. Just going to increase it. So by the time it is reading this information and it's generating the forecast, so what it will do, it will, because this has a linear pattern, right? It will just keep on increasing the forecast at the same rate for the next 5 to 6 years, whatever our forecast horizon be. And it might not be making good sense when we look at long range planning, that this is the kind of way we would want to continue the projection. So in such cases we can customize it, but the custom component model has various techniques available. So I'm just quickly touching upon the custom component model for long range planning, and then I'll come back to how we can utilize the same technique for planning for new product. So in this case, I would want to bend the bend the pattern. I do not want the system to consider the linear method for a long time. I would really want it to bend it a little bit as we move forward in time. And okay, I need to give the values. So we can kind of customize it. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we can kind of customize it and say that, we want to, we would want it to be reducing it by 10%. We do not want the same growth to be available for a long period. And you can see slightly there was just some modification that happened in the forecast. It will basically not continue with the same rate of projections for the next year or next couple of years. We can customize these growth pattern in the data, and not just the growth pattern but also the other techniques that we have, which is the seasonal index, right? We can tell the system that the dip that we see in the month of this is what we Feb March, April, in the month of April, we see quite, no, sorry, in the month of May, we see uh, uh, quite a big dip, but we really do not want to see that. In the month of May, I would want the dip to be not so much, but maybe somewhere around 80% of the normal. I can do that, and automatically you can see the dip in sales in the month of May has gone slightly. It has become little normal, and it is not to this extent that we had for this particular product. So this is one way of modifying the seasonality and coming up with your own seasonal factors. And this is how you can also use this information for planning for your products which are fairly new in the market. So in case, let's say we have this product, I'm just going to say expert selection. And what I would want to do is I would want to go to custom component and say apply this technique, and you can see automatically the system has come up uh, with a pattern. But I'll show you how you can actually do the projection or create the projections for your item. I can say linear custom. I would want to have a linear this thing. I can give these slope values. I can. The important factor is I can create these seasonal factors on my own. I know that my product would sell, say, on an average, it sells in October because we have Diwali time. On an average, my product sells a little higher. Maybe I see an increase in sales by 30%. So I know that my product would be sold 30% higher compared to normal times. I would want the similar effect to be showcased, and I can do that. And once I do that, you would be able to see the jump in sale in the month of October each year. You can notice, right, that the sales are increasing in the month of October. So this is how you can automatically create the seasonal indexes based on your knowledge of how the product would behave on a month basis. You know that November, December, or October, November, December are your high selling periods. You can automatically define the seasonal indexes as per that, and provide the start date, provide what month on month what would be the increase in sales that the product would see. So in case there is no increase, then you just leave it at zero, and you can see it's giving me a flat number. There is no month on month or year on year increase in sales. So it's the same pattern that gets repeated, but I do get a pattern over here. I can provide my starting values, but in this case, the start value it's coming up automatically. But if the product is new, then I can say that uh, my average sale or my starting point would be 500, and I can say that, and automatically my level would shift in this case from 100 to 500. So system had automatically picked up 100, and that is a built-in feature of the system. If there is some sale that has happened, then the system is capable of finding out the starting point on its own, and we can rely on that. But in case we are confident that the product would be sold at a certain higher level, then we can use this feature and customize the components to come up with a good forecast. So this is it from my side, and I wanted to, as I said, I wanted to touch upon these factors today on the call, and want to now see if there is any question from the audience, or if you have any questions further in future as well, you can always reach out to me at sheetal@anamind.com, and we would be happy to answer your questions. But I'll take a pause and see if you have any questions. So I'll just quickly summarize in the meantime that we have covered the new product forecasting using the product mapping approach, the bioanalogy approach. We just briefly touched upon the base diffusion model, and we also touched upon the custom component model, which can be utilized for new product planning. That is what I wanted to cover in this session today. I look forward to having you in the next session. And if there is any specific topic which you would want us to cover, do let us know. We would be happy to take that up. And since I see few of the folks that whom I know over here, I would just like to take some inputs from you, possibly on the topic for the next webinar on the next month. Deepak, Ehsan, Abhishek, if you have any thoughts on what that topic would be, I would really appreciate your inputs.
Yeah, Sheetal. So this is Deepak.
Yeah, Deepak.
Yeah, Sheetal. So maybe this whatever forecasting methods you have suggested, maybe I will check actually. Means practically I will check how it works, and then maybe I will come back to you. And for the next session, I would like to know more about this accuracy levels, forecast accuracy. So that is one
Okay,
suggestion
we
from my side.
right, Deepak. Deepak, we did cover that in the last session. Were you able to you still have any questions on that?
Yeah, forecast accuracy maybe forecast accuracy was not covered in that last session.
We covered the waterfall report, the accuracy report, and in depth accuracy measurements that time.
Okay, okay. That
Or if there is any specific point that I had missed in the last session, let me know what that point was, and I would be happy to take that.
so I think that forecast accuracy was only the point
Okay.
for me.
All right. All right. I'll connect with you separately and see if what exact point was there, and
Yeah.
yeah, we can then take it up. Abhishek, do you have any pointers to share?
So this is the first time I'm seeing the software itself. So I'll try to
Right.
like understand the know and how of the software and then come back to you if at all there's anything.
Perfect. Perfect. That's great. Ehsan, how about you? I know you have been using this solution for quite a long time now. But if you have any suggestion,
रिवाइज कर रहे हैं बेसिस दैट मेरा सप्लाई प्लान नया नंबर जनरेट होगा.
okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the session today. I think Ehsan is busy, but
Sheetal,
let's.
sorry, till now no comments on this.
Mhm. Okay.
I will go through the recording. If anything feedback, I will share with you.
Perfect. Perfect. If Ehsan, if there is any topic that you would want me to cover, I would be happy to take that. Um, but yeah, we'll be sending out the recording by next week, and we'll keep you posted. In the meantime, as I said, if you have any questions, feel free to write to me at sheetal@anamind.com, and we'll be happy to answer that.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.